covering it up, lets you know that it's much worse than what is actually revealed.
On that matter, following you up on that, um, why would Iran go for a ceasefire when they have them on the ropes? Because what the U.S. and Israel and their proxies like to do is rest, rearm, and recalibrate. Even though Iran was taking damage, it was dealing out more damage, and it could have. We saw that the interceptors were almost depleted, and we see that the U.S. and Israel became panicked from the little information that we've gleaned from what happened during the strikes. Why do you think that Iran allowed Israel a breather?
It's a good question, and I think there are arguments for both, right? Whether it should have pressed its advantage. If it did have an advantage, it's possibly very likely. Certainly, in terms of attrition, purely in terms of the math, it does have an advantage because, for every missile that Iran shoots, Israel has to send 2 to 10 interceptors, and those interceptors are incredibly expensive. The missiles themselves may not be so expensive. So purely from that standpoint, from a financial, from a bean counting standpoint, uh, Israel was already starting to be depleted and losing the war. Should Iran have pressed its advantage? I think there's an argument that could have been made there, but I think there are many factors involved. I think the fact that the United States was also threatening to get involved, the fact that both that Iran, the United States, and Israel both have nuclear weapons. I think these are important facts. Is it possible for a powerful country to fight two nuclear armed nations at once? I think that sometimes you have to, discretion is the better part of valor. And I think that even inside the situation, remember the US bombed Fordo and other nuclear plants, claimed to have destroyed them completely. But if you look at the Iranian retaliation, it was very, very symbolic and minimal. They did the absolute minimum. They telegraphed what they were going to do, and then they, sent something which was really a symbolic act. The fact that they sent a symbolic uh, gesture signals that probably the damage to Fordo was trivial or only symbolic. Even the U.S. intelligence are saying that it's only put it back a few months, if even that. So I think that the damage of the U.S. attack was insignificant, and therefore Iran felt comfortable making, a symbolic gesture back, simply a shot over the bow, not a complete, all-out war. And having sent that message, it's looking to see, if the ceasefire will hold. Because, let's get back to it. Ultimately, Iran does not want war. Does not want war with the United States. Does not want war with Israel. It simply wants to develop peacefully. It has not been an aggressive nation. It fights when it is attacked, but it is not, a country that has gone abroad, seeking domination and, mayhem, as at least for several centuries, as has the Imperial West. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if the ceasefire holds. I think there's a lot of concern that it could just be a ploy, and that's also very likely. But even so, I think that time is on Iran's side, not on Israel or the United States.